So in early February of 2018, we were living our lives just like any other family until one morning when Jackson woke up, it looked like he had a pink eye. So we took him into the pediatrician just to get checked out, and it was at that point that things just snowballed. He went through a series of tests to confirm if it indeed was what the pediatrician had feared, and ultimately he was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia on February 15th, 2018, International Childhood Cancer Awareness Day.
Jackson being diagnosed with cancer was obviously very difficult for our whole family, especially after we found out the type of cancer he had and all the different statistics that they had given us. It was definitely depressing and sad.
So Jackson was on aggressive chemotherapy, and we had learned that chemotherapy would not be enough to give him his best chance, so he went through a bone marrow transplant in the summer of 2018. His first transplant unfortunately failed, and he had to undergo a second bone marrow transplant.
Mom.
Love you, Mom.
Mom.
You're the best.
Best.
Mom's the best, right?
Mom, best.
In January of 2019, Jackson ended up relapsing, unfortunately, so the second transplant failed. And over the course of the next 6 months, everything that the team was throwing at him to just give him, again, his best chance to continue to battle was all Hail Marys. They were experimental protocols based on research from Israel with a sample of 20 different adults. We felt it was a good option, not as toxic as a third bone marrow transplant.
So our daughter Julie was admitted to CHOP for bone marrow transplants for her ALL, and the same day that Jackson was also admitted to CHOP for his first bone marrow transplant.
When we went to visit him in the hospital, sometimes, you know, he would be extremely tired or out of it, but a lot of times he would be happy to see you, and he would be smiley and, you know, just happy to have some familiar faces there.
He touched everyone. He really did. And their story touched everyone. And they're amazing, amazing mamas and friends also, and we're lucky to have them in our life.
Jackson was the sweetest, goofiest little boy. He had an old soul. He was so loving and just amazing.
Much like anyone who met him certainly fell in love with Jackson as soon as we got to meet him and see that little smile. So.
He was born on July 31st, 2016. And the cool thing about him is he shares a birthday with Harry Potter. And interestingly, when Kay was going into labor, we were watching Harry Potter Weekend on Freeform. So we always kind of joke that between him sharing the birthday with Harry Potter, having the last name Radcliffe, and us watching the Harry Potter special on Freeform, that he was destined for wizardry, and he was a magical kid.
There's a lot of good memories I have of Jackson. One of the most memorable was probably when we were in Disney and him and Piper liked jumping on Grammy's bed every night, which was something so small, but brought them so much joy.
He got to see Lightning McQueen on the property, and he just had a hoot and a holler. That trip for me, and looking back on it, really helped him find his brightness again, because it was a really rough road, and then he went to Disney and he had a blast.
So after Jackson relapsed, we decided to get a camper. He wasn't allowed to stay in hotels or go to anyone's house, so we got a camper. You know, a little home on wheels. So to get the camper, we had to get a truck, and he only wanted a blue truck. It had to be a Ford F-150, which was very hard to find, and the truck is ginormous, but he would always call it his baby truck.
Yes.
We always knew that we wanted to do something to raise money to help with research. So after consulting with the family for a while, we decided to host the Rock Out Childhood Cancer Benefit in honor of Jackson.
So this benefit was important for our family, friends, community, because it was a chance for us all to come together and to remember Jackson and the great life that he had, as short as it was. And it's also to raise awareness for those in the community that aren't aware that there are a lot of children out there fighting this awful disease. And last but not least, to raise money to put in Jackson's fund so that we can support social work programs at CHOP and also research for his specific kind of disease.
So on July 30th, we had the Rock Out for Childhood Cancer benefit, and it just blew all of our expectations completely out of the water. We really didn't know what to expect going into it. There were a lot of nerves and excited emotions, but until the day arrived and people started to show up, we just didn't really know if the community would show up, and they did in a huge way.
Jackson's story really touched my heart. We're really glad that we could all bring this together as a community, and there's probably a good 400 or 500 people here today, so it just goes to show how much, when everybody can pull together, how much of a great event we can have. And
I've said it often enough that anybody can dress up like a superhero and come out here and do this, but it definitely does take a lot to talk to the families, children that were affected by cancer. It takes a special kind of person to do something like this. We're not here to try to make a statement about anything. We're here to make children happy. And ultimately, we're only on Earth for a certain period of time, and we need to make a difference while we are here.
The event itself had wonderful performers, bands, solo artists, incredible raffles, wonderful food and drink provided by the Evergreen German Club, and great kid activities. We had approximately 400 people show up to our very first year, and that to me is just incredible.
Go on down to Jackson.
Cancer in general is part of our lives now, so we'll do anything we can to just get ahead of it. If we can help the doctors to learn something new, we'll help the next person.
We've just, all across the board, have been very fortunate and feel very lucky that we've had support from so many people to help us make this a successful event.
We had about 400 people learn about Jackson and learn about childhood cancer and understand why this fight is so important. And we felt Jackson's light that day. It was a beautiful day. The sun was out, we didn't get rained on, and it was just incredible. We love you, Jackie T.
Just keep swimming.
We'll continue to rock out for childhood cancer for you.